Dr. Martinez stepped out of the emergency United Nations session, her tablet clutched against her chest. The decoded message kept replaying in her mind. Your resources are now claimed. Resistance is unnecessary. We arrive in 3 days. Outside, New York hummed with nervous energy. Military vehicles rumbled down streets while civilians packed belongings into cars, fleeing despite nowhere truly being safe. The sky above had taken on an unnatural shimmer since dawn, some kind of atmospheric disturbance caused by the approaching alien fleet. They're scanning us, said Professor Wei, joining her on the steps. His eyes were bloodshot from analyzing the signal patterns, every satellite, every transmission, every digital footprint. They're cataloging it all. Martinez nodded. Standard tactical assessment before invasion. But they're missing something fundamental about us. Which is, they're looking at our technology, our military capabilities, our infrastructure. Measurable things. She gazed up at the shimmering sky. They're not measuring our resourcefulness. Back in her makeshift office, formerly a supply closet in the UN building's basement, Martinez examined the linguistic patterns of the alien transmission. The stellar dominion used a communication style that valued precision and efficiency. Their language contained no idioms, no poetry, no ambiguity. It suggested a species that evolved towards perfect logic and away from emotional reasoning. Her phone buzzed. It was a secure message from Captain Chen aboard the U.S. Discovery, now positioned in the Pacific. His team had detected unusual radiation signatures consistent with the alien scan, but found a curious blind spot. Certain frequencies seemed unmonitored. They can't see analog, Martinez whispered, an idea forming. Across the globe, humanity prepared in ways the Dominion couldn't anticipate. In rural Kenya, villagers dug traditional hiding places that contained no metal or electronics. In the Amazon, indigenous groups retreated to areas naturally shielded by unique mineral compositions. Old ham radio operators dusted off equipment unused for decades, creating a communication network invisible to alien scans. When the Dominion ships finally appeared 3 days later, massive silver structures that eclipsed the sun over major cities, they broadcast their terms of surrender in perfect, accentless versions of Earth's major languages. The silver-skinned ambassador who transported down to address the hastily assembled world leaders moved with unsettling grace. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with elongated limbs and 6-fingered hands, it spoke with absolute certainty. Your species has achieved reasonable progress for your development stage. We offer integration into our empire as a protected resource world. 97% of species accept these terms without resistance. Martinez, selected as humanity's primary communicator due to her linguistic expertise, stepped forward. The alien's eyes, entirely black with no visible iris, focused on her with cool assessment. And what happened to the 3% who refused? She asked. The alien's expression didn't change, perhaps it cooled, but something in its posture shifted slightly. They attempted resistance. They no longer exist. Martinez smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Then I believe you're about to meet the exception to your statistics. The ambassador tilted its head, a gesture almost bird-like in its precision. You cannot win against our forces. This is simply factual. That, Martinez replied, is where you're wrong. Humans specialize in achieving the impossible. You should prepare yourself for disappointment. Captain Chen crouched behind the navigation console of the captured Dominion scout vessel, his hands trembling slightly as he examined the crystalline control interface. The ship's interior glowed with soft blue light, illuminating the faces of his makeshift crew, the quantum physicist, 2 marine engineers, and a video game designer who'd volunteered because alien tech looks like PlayStation controls on steroids. Anything useful, Ramirez? Chen asked the game designer, who was manipulating a translucent panel with surprising confidence. Their system architecture is weirdly linear, Ramirez replied, fingers dancing across symbols. They've optimized everything for perfect efficiency, but there's no redundancy. One disruption cascades through the entire system. Outside, the cruise ship Eclipse, now bristling with hastily mounted experimental weapons, maintained position 5 miles off the California coast. They had 40 minutes before the Dominion would notice their missing scout vessel. "We need to understand how they think," Chen said, studying the alien navigation charts, "not just their technology." Dr. Leung, the physicist, looked up from a disassembled component. "Their math is beautiful, perfectly balanced equations with no approximations. But it's rigid. They solve problems through computational brute force rather than intuitive leaps." "Can we use that?" Chen asked. Leung nodded slowly. "They expect perfection. What if we deliberately introduce imperfection?" Across the globe, humans were independently reaching similar conclusions. In Moscow, subway workers discovered that playing discordant music near Dominion sensors caused them to recalibrate repeatedly. In Rio, street artists found that certain geometric graffiti patterns confused alien targeting systems. General Zexar, commanding the North American Occupation Force, received increasingly concerned reports from field units. His scale-flecked skin darkened with frustration as he reviewed combat statistics. "Their counterattacks make no tactical sense," he told his senior officers in their orbiting command ship. "They sacrifice strategic positions to protect facilities with no military value. They deploy inferior weapons when superior ones are available." "Perhaps they are irrational from fear," suggested his second-in-command. "No," Zexar replied, studying footage of a successful human ambush that had used cooking oil and fireworks to temporarily blind Dominion troops. "This is deliberate. They're exploiting our expectations." On the Eclipse, Chen's team had made their breakthrough by introducing small errors into the scout ship's propulsion formulas, errors that human engineers would automatically compensate for, but the Dominion's rigid systems couldn't handle. They could essentially create a virus that would spread through the aliens' networked fleet. "It's like teaching them to stutter," Ramirez explained, excitement in his voice. "Their systems can't adapt to imprecision." Chen nodded, hope rising for the first time since the invasion began. "Upload it to the scout ship's communication relay when they retrieve their vessel. They'll bring our gift aboard their mothership," Leung finished, smiling. As the Dominion retrieved their wayward scout, they performed standard decontamination procedures, scanning for conventional threats. They found none. What they couldn't detect was the elegant imperfection now infiltrating their network. Mathematical chaos wrapped in seemingly perfect equations. Humanity's first truly effective counterpunch. Dr. Martinez wiped condensation from her face mask as she navigated the captured Dominion vessel's environmental control center. The air inside was perfectly calibrated for the aliens, slightly thinner oxygen, trace elements of gases that made human eyes water. Colonel Adama followed close behind, recording everything with a modified body camera. Their entire evolution occurred without major extinction events, Martins said, examining biological readouts on a translucent display. No asteroid impacts, no ice ages, no sudden climate shifts. "Lucky them," Adama muttered, studying the alien equivalent of medical charts. "Not lucky," Martins countered. "It made them vulnerable. Look at these cellular structures, perfectly efficient, but with almost no adaptability. Their bodies can't handle toxins, temperature extremes, or radiation levels that humans endure daily." They moved deeper into the vessel, reaching what appeared to be a laboratory. Inside, preserved specimens from various worlds lined the walls, including, disturbingly, several human tissue samples. Adama accessed a data terminal using techniques developed by Chen's team. "They've been studying us for longer than we realized," he said grimly, "years before first contact." Martinez examined a holographic display of human DNA beside Dominion genetic code. "They're fascinated by our cellular repair mechanisms. See these markers? We carry genes activated by environmental stress that their species never developed. So we're tougher than we look," Adama said. "More than that," Martins replied. "We're walking evolutionary miracles to them." Every human alive represents thousands of generations that survived plagues, wars, famines, challenges that would have exterminated their entire species. Outside the captured ship, contained within a hastily constructed military facility in the Sonoran Desert, scientists from 12 countries worked in rotating shifts to understand Dominion technology. What astounded them wasn't just the aliens' advanced science, but their profound specialization, each component designed for a single perfect function with no adaptability. Professor Okafor, a Nigerian evolutionary biologist, summarized their findings during an emergency broadcast to resistance cells worldwide. The Dominion's technological superiority comes at a biological cost. They evolved as specialists, each individual member exceptionally skilled at one task, but incapable of performing others. Their society functions like a perfect machine where every component has exactly one purpose. In her temporary quarters that night, Martinez reviewed footage of Dominion crews repairing battle damage. Each repair team consisted of at least 7 specialists, each performing one specific function in perfect sequence. When a human resistance attack disrupted this sequence by eliminating 2 specialists, the entire team became non-functional, unable to reassign tasks or improvise solutions. "That's it," she whispered, sending an urgent message to Colonel Adama. "We don't need to match their technology. We need to force them into situations where specialization becomes a weakness." The next morning, resistance fighters across 3 continents implemented Martinez's strategy, targeting not the Dominion's strongest weapons or largest ships, but the specialized support units maintaining them. As predicted, the aliens struggled to adapt, their perfect efficiency crumbling when confronted with the need to improvise. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had found not just a weakness to exploit, but a fundamental philosophical difference that might just stay their species. Sophia Williams crouched in the shadow of a collapsed overpass, watching Dominion troops patrol what had once been Chicago's magnificent Mile. 3 months of occupation had transformed the cityscape, alien architecture growing like metallic fungi from the ruins of human structures. The invaders' obsession with symmetry and order made their movements predictable, a weakness Williams and her resistance cell exploited mercilessly. Ready with the diversion, she whispered into a jury-rigged radio made from salvaged car parts and rewired children's toys. "Standing by," came the reply from Kai, a former sound engineer now operating from the ruins of an old theater 2 blocks away. "Got something special today. Beethoven's Fifth remixed with static patterns that'll scramble their audio sensors." Williams checked her watch, an analog timepiece specifically chosen because the Dominion sensors focused on digital signals. "Execute in 3, 2, 1. The cacophony erupted from speakers hidden throughout the shopping district. The alien patrol's reaction was immediate and satisfying, their coordinated formation dissolving into confusion as communication implants failed under the assault of deliberately chaotic sound patterns. "Beautiful," Williams murmured. "Team 2, move now." Across the street, 6 resistance fighters emerged from various hiding spots, executing a supply raid that looked random to observers, but followed a carefully choreographed plan. Within 90 seconds, they captured critical medical supplies and a damaged Dominion communication device before vanishing into the urban labyrinth. Back at their hideout, the basement of an old jazz club chosen specifically because its unusual acoustics confused alien scanning technology, Williams examined their prize. "This is their newest model," said Daniels, their tech specialist and former video game developer. "They've been updating their systems to resist our chaos tactics." Williams nodded. "They're learning, but not fast enough." She unfolded a paper map, deliberately analog, revealing hand-drawn notations of Dominion patrol patterns across the city. "Notice anything?" Daniels studied it carefully. "They've shifted to asymmetrical formations. That's new. They're trying to mimic our unpredictability," Williams replied. "But it's still fundamentally logical. They're following randomization algorithms rather than true improvisation. In the command center of the Chicago Occupation Zone, Dominion Sub-Commander Vexel reviewed security footage with mounting frustration. These resistance cells operate without centralized command, without standardized equipment, without conventional training. Yet they achieve coordination that should be impossible under such conditions. Her security chief, a specialist in human psychology, manipulated a holographic display showing resistance attack patterns. They appear random but contain recognizable signatures. This cell, he indicated a cluster of red dots, favors musical disruptions. This one, another cluster, uses children's games as operational frameworks. Vexel's facial scales darkened with annoyance. Are they mocking us? No, the security chief replied thoughtfully. They're leveraging cultural touchstones as organizational tools, shared references that require no explicit explanation among them. It's ingenious in its simplicity. Back in the Resistance hideout, Williams finalized plans for their boldest operation yet, a simultaneous strike against 7 Dominion facilities, using 7 entirely different methods, from electromagnetic disruption to psychological warfare techniques borrowed from street theater. They'll never anticipate it because there's no single pattern to detect, she told her team. Humans thrive in chaos not because we create it, but because we surf it like a wave while they try to measure the ocean drop by drop. Dr. Martinez staggered as the neural field intensified, her vision blurring with strange geometric patterns. Around her, the underground research facility buzzed with frantic activity as scientists monitored the alien network's unprecedented reaction to human consciousness. Their systems are destabilizing, reported Dr. Patel, his fingers flying across 3 separate keyboards. The collective is experiencing massive information surges they can't process. Martinez steadied herself against a desk, focusing through the disorientation. What specifically is causing the most disruption? Patel highlighted a neural activity map on his central monitor. Dreams and abstract thinking. Their collective has no framework for processing non-literal concepts. Every metaphor, every dream fragment is being treated as actual data. Outside, across North America, the Dominion's neural field wavered like heat distortion over asphalt. Designed to connect human minds to the aliens' hive intelligence, it instead became a conduit for humanity's mental chaos. Billions of random thoughts, creative impulses, and emotional responses flooding the system built for perfect logical harmony. In Denver, a Dominion commander removed his neural interface helmet with trembling hands, black eyes wide with something no human had seen in their species before. Fear. I experienced individuality, he whispered to his second. The concept so forbidden, he struggled to articulate it. Separate existence, wants that contradicted needs, pleasure without purpose. Similar scenes played out across Dominion command centers as operators disconnected from the collective. Some overwhelmed by the sensory input, others secretly fascinated by concepts their species had evolved beyond eons ago. Martinez recognized the opportunity immediately. They've opened a two-way connection, she told her team. They wanted our obedience but got our imagination instead. We need to amplify this effect, specifically the concepts most foreign to them. Working through the night, her team of neuroscientists and engineers modified captured Dominion technology to strengthen the feedback loop. They focused on transmitting the most quintessentially human thought patterns, artistic creativity, philosophical paradoxes, humor, and abstract emotional concepts like nostalgia and bittersweet joy. Their entire civilization is built on perfect consensus and unified purpose, Martinez explained during an emergency broadcast to resistance leaders. Introducing individualized thinking isn't just confusing them, it's revolutionizing them. Some are rejecting it, but others are embracing it. In orbit, aboard the Dominion mothership, High Commander Zexar faced an unprecedented crisis. Nearly 30% of his officers now exhibited signs of individualized thinking, questioning orders, expressing preferences, even creating unauthorized visual designs that served no practical function. Quarantine all affected personnel, he ordered, his voice tight with suppressed panic. Purge all neural field connections with the human population immediately. But it was too late. The concept of individual consciousness, once introduced to a species that had evolved beyond it, spread like wildfire through their ranks. Some fought against it, clinging to the comfortable certainty of the collective. Others embraced it with the fervor of religious converts discovering truth. In her command center, Martinez monitored the spreading disruption with grim satisfaction. They tried to absorb our minds, she told her team. But our minds were never designed to be absorbed. We're not component parts of a perfect machine. We're billions of unique, contradictory, beautiful messes. And that may just save our species. Williams moved silently through the abandoned service tunnels beneath the United Nations complex, her team following in perfect formation, a testament to months of preparation. The building above had been transformed into the Dominion's primary Earth research facility, its once majestic assembly halls now filled with alien technology and specimens from across the planet. Security grid mapped, whispered Rodriguez, their tech specialist, examining a handheld scanner cobbled together from salvaged alien parts and 20th-century radio components. They've modified their patterns again, but still following a mathematical sequence. Predictable if you understand the algorithm. Williams nodded. Time window. 43 seconds between sensor sweeps at Junction 7. The team moved with practiced precision, slipping through the Dominion's defense grid by exploiting the aliens' inability to conceive of truly random security measures. Every system they built, no matter how complex, contained patterns that humans could eventually identify and exploit. Reaching the central laboratory complex required bypassing 3 separate security checkpoints, each designed to detect different biological signatures. Williams had prepared for this. Each team member carried countermeasures developed by resistance scientists working with data from previous raids. When they finally breached the inner sanctum of the facility, what they found stopped them cold. "My God," breathed Williams, staring at rows of preservation tanks containing human genetic samples, thousands of them, meticulously labeled and organized. Rodriguez accessed a nearby terminal using techniques developed by Martinez's team. These aren't random samples. They're tracking genetic diversity, environmental adaptation markers, stress response genes. Williams moved deeper into the facility, following a corridor that led to a secured observation chamber. Through reinforced glass, she could see Dominion scientists performing experiments on living human tissue, their expressions showing something she'd never observed in the aliens before: reverence. "They're not just studying us," Rodriguez said, scanning research logs. "They're trying to become us." On a central display, complex genetic sequences rotated slowly. Dominion DNA alongside human genetic material. The aliens were attempting to incorporate human adaptive traits into their own genetic code. Their species is dying, Williams realized, watching recovered footage of Dominion scientists examining human cells with obvious fascination. Their perfect society eliminated all evolutionary pressure. Their reproduction rates are plummeting, their genetic diversity collapsing. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Human DNA represents their salvation. Our chaotic, adaptable, imperfect genetics could revitalize their stagnant gene pool. In another section of the facility, Williams discovered something equally shocking: detailed assessments of human resistance tactics, psychological profiles of captured fighters, and comprehensive analyses of human creativity under pressure. "They chose Earth specifically because we were likely to resist," she whispered, the truth dawning with cold clarity. "They needed data on our stress responses, our adaptability under pressure. Our defiance wasn't an obstacle, it was the entire point of the invasion." As Williams downloaded critical research files, she came across recent communications between Earth-based researchers and the Dominion High Command. The reports contained an unexpected sentiment: grudging admiration for human resilience and innovation. "They're learning from us in ways they never anticipated," she told her team as they prepared to exit the facility. "They came to harvest our genetics, but they're being transformed by our humanity instead. Colonel Adama stood before the Emergency Council of Remaining World Leaders, his uniform worn and patched but still carrying the authority of his position. The underground bunker outside Geneva hummed with tension as he presented the controversial proposal. "The Dominion needs us more than we realized," he concluded, displaying genetic analysis from William's raid. "Their species faces extinction without human genetic diversity. This gives us leverage we never anticipated." The Russian representative leaned forward, skepticism etched on her face. "You suggest collaboration with creatures who have killed millions of our people." "Not surrender," Adama clarified. "Strategic negotiation from a position of unexpected strength. They need our genetic material, our creativity, our chaos. We need their technology to rebuild our world." Williams, freshly arrived from New York, slammed her fist on the table. "They don't deserve negotiation. They deserve extinction for what they've done." The room erupted in heated debate. Dr. Martinez, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "The Dominion is changing," she said, displaying neural scans of recently captured aliens. "Exposure to human consciousness has triggered something unprecedented in their psychology. Individual thinking is spreading through their ranks like a contagion. All the more reason to strike now while they're destabilized," Williams argued. The debate might have continued for hours if not for the alarm that suddenly blared through the facility. A communications officer burst into the room, face pale. "Multiple objects just emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system," he reported. "Massive ships, unlike Dominion design. They're accelerating toward Earth." Silence fell over the chamber. Within minutes, every functional screen displayed the approaching vessels. Enormous structures resembling metallic spiders, their surfaces bristling with weapon systems unlike anything seen before. "The collective," Martins whispered, recognizing the description from data recovered from Dominion archives. "The Dominion's ancient rivals." A single transmission reached Earth's remaining communication systems, broadcast simultaneously in every human language and Dominion dialect. Purification protocol initiated. Contaminated species identified. Cleansing imminent. The implications became clear with terrifying speed. The collective, monitoring distant galaxies, had detected the Dominion's unusual activities on Earth, their attempts to incorporate human genetics, their exposure to individualized thinking. To the collective, this represented contamination that required sterilization. "They're not here for conquest," Martins realized. "They're here for extermination of both our species." As emergency protocols activated worldwide, something unprecedented occurred. A Dominion command ship descended toward the Geneva facility, landing in a deliberate, non-aggressive posture. From it emerged a senior Dominion commander, approaching alone and unarmed. The alien scales showed the mottled coloration that Martinez had identified as a sign of emerging individuality. It addressed the assembled human leaders with unexpected humility. "The collective follows a single principle: cleanse any species the Dominion attempts to incorporate as equals rather than subjects. They have monitored our activities on your world and deemed both our species contaminated beyond salvation." The commander extended a six-fingered hand toward Colonel Adama. "We possess technology, but lack innovation. You possess creativity, but lack advanced science. Separately, we face certain extinction. Together." The sentence hung unfinished as ancient enemies contemplated an alliance neither had imagined possible. The first collective assault struck with devastating precision, antimatter weapons reducing the Moon's research outposts to dust. Earth's skies filled with swirling aurora effects as atmospheric defenses, hastily cobbled together from Dominion technology and human innovations, strained against the attackers' initial probes. Aboard the combined command vessel hovering in low Earth orbit, Dr. Martinez stood alongside Dominion High Commander Zexar, both watching tactical displays with grim determination. The unlikely alliance had formed with surprising speed, necessity overriding 6 months of bitter warfare. Their attack patterns follow perfect mathematical progressions. Sexor observed, his scales shifting color with stress. The collective operates on absolute consensus and predictability. Martinez nodded, a plan forming. Then we give them something unpredictable. Captain Chen. Chen, now commanding a squadron of retrofitted Dominion fighters piloted by humans, appeared on a communication screen. Standing by. Execute Chaos Protocol Alpha, Martinez ordered. Across Earth's orbital space, human pilots introduced what seemed like errors into their flight paths, irregular maneuvers, deliberate communication glitches, apparent malfunctions that were actually carefully orchestrated tactics. The collective's perfectly coordinated formation faltered as their targeting systems struggled to anticipate movements that followed no logical pattern. On the ground, Williams led a combined human-Dominion strike team against a collective landing force in the ruins of London. The sight of former enemies fighting side by side would have been unimaginable weeks earlier. "They're scanning for weaknesses in our coordination," Williams shouted as energy weapons scorched the air around them. "Show them what humans do best." Her team split into seemingly random groups, each executing different tactics simultaneously. Some using advanced Dominion weapons, others employing primitive but effective improvised explosives. The collective forces, designed to counter organized resistance, struggled against attacks that appeared chaotic yet somehow achieved coordinated results. The turning point came when Dr. Martinez activated the modified neural network, originally the Dominion's weapon, now repurposed as humanity's greatest defense. Instead of attempting to control the collective's hive mind, the network introduced something they had never encountered: mercy. As the collective's massive command ship positioned itself for Earth's final sterilization, the neural pulse transmitted not aggression but understanding, humans sharing their capacity for forgiveness alongside Dominion memories of transformation through contact with individualized thought. The effect rippled through the collective consciousness, a species that had never considered alternatives to elimination when facing contamination suddenly experiencing the concept of coexistence despite differences. Their perfectly synchronized attack formations faltered, communication networks flooding with conflicting directives. In that moment of confusion, the Allied forces struck with precision, not to destroy but to disable the collective fleet. Targeted electromagnetic pulses, designed by Williams engineers and powered by Dominion technology, temporarily severed the connections between collective vessels, isolating them from their controlling intelligence. When it was over, as the disabled collective ships hung in Earth's orbit like dead metal spiders, Martinez stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, now partially rebuilt, addressing representatives of 3 species. "We came to the brink of extinction and found something unexpected," she told the gathered humans, Dominion, and collective observers. "Not just survival, but evolution. The truth about humanity isn't that we're stronger or smarter than other species. Our truth is adaptation, not just biological, but moral. We can turn enemies into allies. We can forgive. We can grow. And that is why, faced with any force in the universe, humans will always find a way not just to win, but to transform the very nature of victory."